Goldline Show. I'm here every Saturday at 7 p.m. Central European Time. Thank you for joining. But before we start, let me show the sponsors for today's show. So the sponsors for today's show is myself. Yeah, so I released my newest book, Awakening, link in the bio, which is the successor of my first book, A Guide to Almost Foolproof Investing. So if you read this one, which many people of you did, I really recommend you read the second one if you're interested in the sector rotation part, which comes at the end of this book and continues to be explained in this book. Not only that, you will learn about politics, economics, basically everything you need to know, and also why all these things are happening. So you will learn a lot about your own values and about people's values and how they shape politics and economics and how everything collapses at the end and why. So I highly recommend my book. So that's the sponsor. Also, check out my newsletter. So in preparation for this show and basically every video that I'm making, I use some part or some paragraph of my newsletter as a script. So a lot of the 10,000 plus viewed videos I'm making, they're basically just my newsletter, just a dumbed down version of my newsletter. And I post 5 times a week. So I set it up with a free trial. So if you click the link in my bio, the first link, Goldie's Market Updates, it says newsletter now. You can join for free for an entire week. You can check my guide there for free, it's sector rotation guide. And just, it's a Discord server. And if you like it, you can hang out. If you don't, you can leave. And you didn't lose a dime. So I highly recommend it. Not only me, many of you joined, and I'm very grateful, but I want to make more content and better content. I can only do so with your help. And the biggest help you can do is help me, not have a 9-to-5 side job, but do this full time. But I can only do this with your help. Okay, so let's start with the first article. Let me just double check if we can. I really hoped I could show you the background pictures, like the articles in the background, but I'm not too sure about that anymore. Hang on. Okay, look, you know what? Let's maybe not show you the article in the background. They're all my newsletter. You can read them on my newsletter. So I'm just going to talk about them. Hang on. So the first article, is from CNN. And it says, Pentagon says 900 US troops have deployed or are deploying to the Middle East amid heightened tensions. Okay, so America is coming to the aid of their masters in Israel. And there's a few things I want to talk about. So here it says that there's special forces on the ground. So 2,000 Marines are on the ground in Israel, preparing for going into Gaza, I'm assuming, which has been postponed for over a week now. And now there's an additional 900 coming to the aid. And there's also French ships coming to the aid. So we have 12 destroyers, 2 aircraft carriers, and some other vehicles that I just don't know about. I don't play that many video games to know this good enough. So what is this all about? So they're ginning up a war against Iran, okay? So does Iran has weapons of mass destruction? Is this like Iraq 2.0? Like what is going on? So first I want to talk about how many people say that I'm wrong, that my predictions are wrong or something. And I just really want to defend myself in that regard, okay? So first of all, I'm not claiming that I can see the future, and I'm not claiming that I can see what the market does next. All right? So saying that my predictions were wrong is, putting things in my mouth that I didn't say. Okay. Secondly, not all of you. I'm not accusing all of you, but there's some very small minority of you who just can't comprehend somebody who is smart. Sorry, I just don't know how else to explain this. But what I do is that when you play chess, you're not only thinking about your next move. So if you want to be a good chess player, you have to think about the moves of your enemy, what he could do in when you do X, they will do Y, and when they do Y, what will you do in response, and what will you do in response to that? So you have to see you have to think like Sun Tzu, the art of war. Think like your enemy, and you have to know what your enemy wants, what they're planning to do, so you can plan your next move effectively. If you don't, you just focus on your next move, you're most likely gonna lose. And some people, silly people, they just can't comprehend that. So they're like, "Oh, your predictions are wrong." No, just because I did X, because the enemy I'm trying to read did Y, and then they did an unexpected move that wasn't rational, because I have to assume my enemy or the person I'm trying to read is acting rational and in their own interest, but they didn't. That doesn't make my prediction wrong. I'm just playing chess. Okay? So here we have to look, like, especially with what's going on in the Middle East, we have to look at the bigger picture. What does the US want? What does Russia, China want? And what does Israel want? And what does the Muslim world want? And then we have to see what each wants and how they would act if they were rational people acting rationally and in their own self-interest. So what the US wants is pretty clear. So the US is losing a war already, okay? They're losing a war against a country starting with RU, and now the focus shift on Israel. There's another thing I want to tell you before I go into more detail, but I first thought that the primary motivation of the empire, the US empire, the progressive empire, was Marxism. I thought there's a bunch of, like, the elites at the top. They are primarily focused on Marxist ideology. They're rich leftist Marxists, and they want to destroy Western society from within. Which is why you have all these warfares, right? Just like in the Frankfurt School that was created to find a way to destroy capitalism from within, they invented a way to make a society ripe for a communist takeover, and they do that through class warfare, gender warfare, all sorts of things. And basically, their primary goal is getting rid of all distinctions. So the distinction between rich and poor, distinction between men, women, adult and child. So I thought the primary focus was that, which is why the imperial empire of the US was spreading global feminism and democracy, our democracy, right? They always say they are a threat to our democracy. They're not lying, and they're not really wrong when they say our democracy, because it is their democracy that they're exporting to the world outside. However, this Israel thing just showed me that the primary focus was not that, because they dropped everything. They dropped Ukraine. They dropped everything going on to come to the aid for Israel. Interesting. Very, very interesting. You might already know that most people in the cabinet, or in Biden's cabinet, have Jewish background. Many people in power, in the media, in banking, have Jewish background. So I'm not saying, like, if we were in a parallel universe, it might there would be still a group at the top, right? So it's not that you are Jewish that makes you, like, evil or something. Like, I'm not talking about the religion itself or something. I'm just saying that that's very interesting, that, the strings are being pulled by, a specific group that have lots of money and lots of influence. And it just happened to be, people who really care about Israel, which is why America is coming to their aid. And what America is doing right now is they're losing a war already. And the war in Ukraine, yeah, was not a war between RU and Ukraine. It was a war between RU and NATO. And NATO is the US. And they spent all their money, they spent all their weapons there, all their toys got destroyed. Oh, our Patriot missile system, blah, 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 blah. They sold the Patriot missile system from the 70s for full price. It's a huge money laundering, how do you describe that, activity for the military industrial complex. And it's a huge auction to buy land and scoop up this poor country, and being bought up by these big companies like BlackRock and Vanguard. And it all is happening with the blood of the innocent, which is very, very unfortunate. So they're losing there. They didn't officially lose, but they lost. And now they know they can't win a war against RU, and they can't win a war against China. But maybe Iran. Maybe Iran, which is also part of BRICS, which is all this is about, by the way. So we saw the G7 going up and up and up for the past, like until the end of the 90s and in the early 2000s. And then we saw BRICS going up. And now BRICS are past the G7 countries. And this is what all this is about. So BRICS, there is a commodities exchange also in Iran. And so they can't take on RU directly, they can't take on China directly, but maybe they can show their power, even though they're losing a war right now in Ukraine. Though they want to show their puff off their chest, show their power that, we are great and our military is still in full strength, blah, 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 blah. And maybe they can win against Iran. So this is really, really, really stupid. That has a bunch of reasons. So from an economic side, the US is bankrupt. The US is completely bankrupt. That's another article we'll talk about later. But they're bankrupt. The military is not what it was. And nobody wants to join the military. Just look at the draft numbers. They're lowest ever. They don't. So this is giant bluff. The US coming to the aid of Israel is a giant bluff. I think deep down they actually don't want a war with Iran, and maybe just their presence will be enough to deter further attacks from Hezbollah and the rest of the region. So now what does BRICS want? What does China and Russia want? So this is really good for Russia. So now their focus is, the empire's focus is off of Ukraine. So they can focus on that, and what they want is they're playing the mediator. So every time in history when you have an ascending empire, okay, the descending empire, which is in power. So all politics is you have people in power and you have people that are not in power but want power. The people in power trying to hold on to their power are the right. The people who want power and want the system to change are by definition the left. I described this in my book, Awakening. Check it out. So the empire, the NATO, US, they want to hold on to power right now, and because they're going down, I don't know how much longer they can do so. And the ascending empire is BRICS, so China, Russia, all these other countries, mainly China and Russia. And in history, throughout history, there was like usually a big war that happened, and always the ascending power came out at the top. Okay, so what you have to understand here is, so we talked about what the US wants. What you have to understand here is why Russia and China are playing this safely is because Russia and China are actually thinking about the future. They want a multipolar world. They're sick and tired of the imperial, non-multipolar world, of the empire that the US has created and is direly trying to hold on to. So that's why they're trying to mediate, and they try not to escalate this war further, which is why Israel can just freely attack Syria. Like Russia can't even send air defense missiles to their neighbor, to their ally. Apparently not, right? So the question is, okay, will the bluff be blown apart? Will they sink a US ship, a carrier, and then the game is on? Or will they just give the US what they want and, just watch how they just walk all over the people in Gaza and the Muslim world, and no one's just not going to do anything? I ultimately don't know. Look, again, all your predictions are wrong. Look, I never claimed that I know everything. I'm just telling you what is, and I'm telling you who wants what and what the next move might be. And if they act rationally and their own self-interest, which the US is actually not, we can make predictions about what might happen next. And honestly, I don't see a good outcome for Israel, no matter what happens. So if they don't do anything, if they contain, like that would be the better option, I think. They contain the conflict, but then the Gaza and Hamas problem will not stop. It won't end. You have an open air prison called Gaza, and they just, the Israeli people want them out. They want to put them to the desert in Egypt, into camps. But the idea of Hamas, the idea of Israel not existing, that's not gonna end. That's not gonna end. So just watch a video of what you're talking about. Yeah. Good. Get informed. So that's one thing. The immediate thing which Israel wants, Israeli people actually want, and which it seems like the US wants, is war. So they want to drive out the people in Gaza. They want to go in there, have a ground operation, which makes no sense makes zero sense. But basically they want to drive out the entire country and commit genocide. Okay, they want to commit an act that starts with G and ends with side. But that's the legitimation for their own country. So Israel was created because of this act, and as a sorry, basically, oh sorry guys, and G and then O-side is bad and shall never happen again. And then they were given this land. There are some Jews living there already, and the last time they were there was like 2,000 years ago. But they were given this land. And if they do the same thing that happened to them, what reasoning does their country have to still exist? So you see, no matter what really happens, I don't see a good outcome for Israel. So I just feel incredibly sorry for the innocent. It always hits the innocent. It always hits the children, especially. And I'm incredibly sorry. All this thing is happening on the back of the innocent and with the blood of the innocent. And I want you to remember that the worst reason for peace is still better than the best reason for war. Okay, so T Ash is asking, but USA wants to wipe out the 33 trillion debt by war. So it says that USA wants war. So they can't wipe out the debt. They can't. Like how can you, like, you're just not gonna pay your debtor? You know? Yeah. That means you are being overthrown. That means you collapse as a country. So this is what you have to understand. But I will talk about this in the next article. So this was the first article. So the Pentagon says 900 US troops have deployed, blah, blah, blah. We just talked about this. You can read, I post all the articles on my newsletter, on my Discord, and you can read them in the Intel server. So it's called Intel. That's like one section of the Line server, where you can see all the articles that I talk about on my videos, on my newsletter, and here in the live show. So give me just a moment here. You can ask questions in the meantime. Let me just prepare for the next article here I want to talk about. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit about the market. So what does that mean for oil prices? So I posted a video last week. No, not this week. Earlier this week, I posted a video on my newsletter about how they are naked shorting natural gas. And the government is naked shorting natural gas using the too big to fail banks. Okay? So that's just so stupid. Because so in the video, people who are in the industry, okay, so first of all, I can't verify any of this, okay, right? Or where's your peer-reviewed study? Well, it's just logic. Like, who benefits from this? The government. Who has an incentive to do so? The government. And there's no reason to go into this much risk as a bank. No rational reason at all. So if you tell me, oh, where's your proof? Well, I don't know. Your own brain is the proof for this. However, people from the industry, I forgot the name of the video, but again, in the Intel server, you can read it, and you can read about it on my premium newsletter. And people actually talked about this on my chat, on Discord, on the premium chat. So the naked shorting natural gas. And if natural gas goes to 3.8 or $4, they will get margin called. And basically the entire financial system collapses. Wop, wop. So this was about natural gas, but what about oil? So, if they destroy the oil fields in Iran, that's about 3%, I think, of global oil supply, energy supply. But here again, all 3% might not sound like much. The entire region is involved. Okay, so the entire region, so the entire Middle East, produces, like, through the strain of Hormuz, I think, about 20% of global oil is going through. If that gets embargoed, you will see $120, $150 oil. But again, it's manipulated. COMEX, those commodity markets are completely manipulated since a year now. They want to keep oil prices, energy prices low, which is also the reason why while inflation looks so low, right? Even though it's high, it's super high inflation, it's just below double digits, the real inflation. Right now, it's going to get worse from here on. But it seemed like it's lower than it actually is, like 3% something, the government claims, because energy is being kept down artificially. So you cannot, so if you short GameStop or Tesla or any other thing, that's, no one cares. No one cares about that. It doesn't affect your or my life. However, if you short commodity markets, which are designed to keep crucial commodity prices stable, that sends a signal that there's no money to be made with that commodity, in this case energy, natural gas, and oil, and you will see shortages. So you can bluff and you can lie, you can talk about an exceptional warm winter and record-breaking supply throughout even an entire year. But what you will see is the reality of rig counts going down, companies going bankrupt, selling companies, and and reality will hit in your face sooner or later. And I honestly don't think they can. I have no idea, especially with this war happening, like seemingly out of nowhere, that they can continue to do this and keep this house of cards together until the elections next year. I have no idea how they're going to do so. But we will see. We will see. They can't manipulate commodity markets for it. So now, just as a warning for everyone here who is invested into commodities, maybe you read my book, maybe you're on my newsletter and you follow commodity markets and you are ready for stagflation, the government can always steal your money. So let's assume natural gas, for example, goes to over $4 and those banks get margin called. What will happen then? Well, either you and me, we're going to make lots of money, or before we're allowed to make money, they will just shut down the market. They will just shut down Comox. They will just say, oopsie poopsie, there was a cyber attack from a country starting with RU or IN. That sounds like a Turkish drink. Oops, sorry, the data is gone and all your money is gone. But this can happen everywhere. It can happen in stocks too. It can just shut down the stock market or the speculators. That's actually what happened to nickel. So people figured out, hey, wait a moment, nickel this year, that happened this year, nickel prices went up and people figured out, hey, wait a moment, they're paper trading nickel, and those bags of nickel were actually just rocks and it wasn't real. And people who bet on nickel, were about to become rich and make lots of money, but they just shut down the market. And all these people are suing right now. So the same thing can happen with everything, unfortunately. It can happen to gold too. You can buy gold and they can just do the same as they did before, just not allow you to own gold. Or cash, they can just have CBDC, take your money away, not allow you to withdraw. So unfortunately, this can happen with everything. This is not isolated to commodities. We will see. Again, I don't actually think they want a war with Iran. I think they're just, they think just their presence alone will deter effort, but there's rockets from Yemen hitting ships. I have no idea. I don't know how this will, if this will escalate. It looks like it's going to escalate and become a regional conflict. And when Iran is pushed in, when Iran is in this war, and the US is in a war against Iran, the US will also be in a war against Russia. Russia is not just going to idly sitting around and watch Iran, their partner, getting destroyed. That's not going to happen. And the US is in really, really bad shape, as I said, and they are going to lose. Yeah, and that's it. The thing is, this is the first time in history, like always in history, the ascending empire won over the descending empire. But it's the first time in history we have a descending empire that has nukes. So that's the one concerning thing. So let me just go over the questions. I see there's like 60 messages here. Let me go over the questions before we continue with the next article. Okay, hang on. So let's see. I'm sorry if I don't answer all your questions. Thank you for the likes. But USA wants to wipe out. Okay, we went over this. people joining. Okay, I might download Discord later tonight. Joachim Broden, welcome, man. Yeah, why not? You can, alternatively, you can join me on Patreon. But if you join me on Patreon, Patreon takes a big cut. And you're still not gonna be on the Discord server. You can read my newsletter. It will come to you as an email. If that's what you like, perfect. But you don't have the free trial. And I have to add you to Discord manually. So I don't know. I actually just want, I don't want to use Patreon. I want to move from Patreon and do my own thing on Discord. So, if you can join me on Patreon, but yeah, it's just a bit more straining to me, and it's like a $10 a month newsletter. I don't have like thousands of people on there. It's just more work. Let's see what we got here. Okay, just people joining and not staying. Okay, market is crashing now. No, how? Where's the market crashing? It's the weekend. Okay, so let's go over the last article for tonight. Hang on. Okay, so the last article is, hang on, let me open it. All right, so the US added $600 billion to the national debt in a single month. This is from Zero Hedge. So that is more than the entire 2008 housing collapse. Okay, just let that sink in. All right. So the 2008 housing collapse, the bailout, was $500 billion or $500 billion. In a single month, the national debt, the US spent $600 billion. That's how high the deficit is. Does that sound like a strong economy to you, like a strong country? No, it's not. So I'm saying here on my newsletter, right? So the funny part here is because the government is spending so much, we see GDP going up. So it's like, oh, look, the economy is doing so great. Look, GDP is going up, right? So, but it's not. It's just going up because you spend so much money. All this money that you print, comes into existence, enters the money supply and increases demand. And your GDP goes up artificially, but your standard of living of American citizens is not going up. Your wages are not going up. Nothing is going up. GDP is going up though, but it's fake. It's a made up number. The economy is not doing well. We're in stagflation. It looks like sooner or later it's going to be a stagflationary recession. I know you guys have been talking about this and propagated about this for an entire year. Oh, the recession is going to come, and I told you no, it's not going to come, and it didn't come for the entire year. See, there you go, my prediction was right. However, eventually we will see. Not a recession, it will be a depression. What you have to understand is this is a financial reset. This is the end of the long-term debt cycle. It's over. There's no road left to kick the can to. So I made a recent video about this part of my newsletter where I gave you 4 options. It's actually 3 options the Federal Reserve has. And no matter what the Fed does, it will lead to the same outcome. And you know why? Because the Fed cannot solve a problem that they didn't cause. The Fed is not spending all this money. The Fed is not increasing the national debt. It's the government. It's the government's fault. They created the Fed, as a boogeyman. So you can blame the Fed, you can blame the banks, you can blame rich people, you can blame everyone else but the government. Okay, the government you elected, by the way, because we have universal suffrage. So here's the scenario, okay? So let me just go over this again and maybe in a little bit more detail. So I talked about this in my other video, but I just want to go over it again. So the government spends money and then GDP goes up, right? So what can the Fed do? All right. So option number one is if the Fed raises rates to fight inflation, I don't know how they're going to fight inflation with, point like 5% interest rates when you have double-digit inflation. I don't know how that works. But they want to fight inflation, keep increasing rates. Then you will see the banks fail. And they already did. So we should have been in a depression, in a recession this year. But we weren't. They bailed out all the banks. And you will see that the bond market will collapse. Because all these bonds that the government issued beforehand, before the rates were at 5%, nobody wants those anymore. Everyone wants the new rates. So you will see, bond prices going up, going down, and yields and interest rates will go up, and so you will see the bond market collapse literally. So that happens when the Fed raises rates. So okay, how about they don't raise rates? Okay, so if they don't raise rates, the banks will still collapse because they're naked shorting commodities and stocks. And to understand this better, I actually want to read from my newsletter because I think I explained this perfectly here. So just to tell you again, so if they don't raise rates, so if the Fed just doesn't raise rates anymore, the banks will collapse due to naked shorting of commodities and now even stocks. So why is that? So they hold bonds with current interest rates, correct? So if rates go up and the bond that pays 5% is worth less now than the bond that pays 6%, right? So you're holding a current bond which is worth less, as rates go up, or so this means they will have to sell that for less than it was initially worth, which means they have less assets. And when assets goes below liabilities, the bank is done. Easy. So if you naked short, so you have naked short. It's like so I made like a calculation, kind of like naked shorting minus inflation going up, right? So you naked short something, in this case commodities, energy commodities, natural gas, but you have high inflation. Inflation is the common denominator. It doesn't go away. So the commodities are worth the same, but the dollar is worth less. So prices go up. So the bank's bet is that prices will fall, but they lose the bet and they have to pay the margin call. And they have to pay the margin call, but they don't have the money anymore. Easy as that. Commodity keeps the value, but the dollars that they used to buy those commodities or short them, betting that the price will go down, now is worth less. And if they get margin called, because commodities holding the price, inflation goes up and up and up, will get worse. They will get margin called, and when they do, they don't have the money to pay. And then what? We'll come to that in just a minute. Okay, so they can't raise rates. They can't. So they can't raise rates. They can't not raise rates. And that's okay. How about they cut rates? Right. That's actually something that I've been talking about for a long time. So if they cut rates, no one will buy the government bonds to finance their wars in the Middle East and in the world, right? So if the Fed cuts rates, and who wants to, again, with this high inflation, who wants to buy, the world is dumping treasury bonds. The world, like China, everyone is dumping. No one wants to own debt from a country that is 33 trillion, I think now, $30 trillion in debt. Okay, so they can't increase rates, they can't keep them where they are, and they can't cut them, okay? So if rates are where they are, everyone goes bankrupt because they cannot service the debt at current rates. So at 5% and above, The annual servicing the debt, interest paid on the national debt at $30 trillion, at 30 trillion current rates, is $1 trillion annually. $1 trillion. That's like a fifth or fourth of the entire income of the US. The US makes between 3.5 and $5 trillion, the US government, from taxes and everything else. And we're not putting into account a bond market crash, right? Yeah, so no matter what they do, all roads lead to hyperinflation. No matter what they do, the government has to monetize the debt and print money. And that's the end. So they could cut spending, they could do the right thing, cut spending, say sorry to retirees, and default or cut spending, just stop harassing the world with wars and paying for all this bullshit, size down everything, cut spending, and maybe you can make this boat go for a little longer, for a few more decades, maybe. But at the current rate, with $600 billion spent in a single month, this is not even going to last another 5 years. So, and that's what I'm talking about. Let's shield the sponsors again, which is myself in my newest book, Awakening. I talk about why it's collapsing. You will learn about your values, what is happening, what the Fed can do, what sector rotation is. You will learn everything in here. So you see here, my sector rotation guide is in here. The political triangle, and you can make a test and actually test yourself and learn about your own values. And I actually want to show you why this all is happening with some really cool illustrations that I made, and with recognizable artworks. You see? So just for you, so you can learn all this, and and prepare, and hopefully just wake up and do something for your life. So I don't know, I can end this by just ending it like I did in my newsletter. So I said, things are getting interesting. It seems like Russia and China are going for a diplomatic victory, while the US and Israel are going for a conquest victory. So Russia is not passive in all of this and has been meeting with Arab leaders. So they're whining and dining Assad, for example, nonstop, as the US has been moving more assets into the region to intimidate and threaten Iran. So one of the two things will happen. So either the US successfully bluffs Russia and China into backing down to avoid World War III, or Russia, China, and the entire Middle East call their bluff, and then you will see the first empire that is descending but has nukes. So so those were the articles for today. Let's continue with the questions. Let me shill the sponsors again. If you haven't joined my newsletter, please do. The link is in the bio. There's a 7-day, like a whole week free trial. You can see my sector rotation guide, like a short version of it, not the same one I have written in my book, but a short version of it for free on my Discord server. And you can read my newsletter 5 times a week. I post 5 times a week and talk about all this stuff. Just everything I talk about today and everything I talk about in my videos are just little sections from my newsletter. So if you want to read them daily and you want to stay up to date and read my take on the markets, geopolitics, and economics, please check it out. 7 days, again, free trial. You don't have to stay, you can leave, and even if you stay, it's $10 a month. So I don't know. If you don't have $10 a month, I'm very sorry. You probably shouldn't be joining my newsletter in the first place. And my books, of course, my first book, A Guide to Almost Foolproof Investing, if you're completely new. But at the end of my first book, A Guide to Almost Foolproof Investing, I go over sector rotation. I go into it a little bit, but not too much. But then if you want to learn more about sector rotation, what to do during stagflation, why all this stuff is happening a bit more adulty, you can check out my newest book, Awakening. And my third book is actually on the way. I'm writing it right now. I want to finish it next week. Sorry, not next week, next year. I hope I can finish it until summer next year. It's going to be very different. I want to make it blue, so I have all the Pokemon colors. Green, red, blue, and yellow too. Maybe my fourth book I can make yellow. But basically I have all the starter Pokemon colors then for all my books. So yeah, thank you for all your support. Thank you for watching. And please don't forget to always like and share my videos. Share them. That's very important. And check out the link in my bio, please. All right, let's go over some of your questions. I'm sorry I've been talking a lot. Okay, let's see. Why Bitcoin is going up? I don't know. Bitcoin is speculative. Think about it. If you were a rich person, naked shorting commodities, wouldn't you use at least some of your collateral in Bitcoin and just take money from stupid people? Maybe that's why it's going up. So, you have some small amount of people with lots of stakes that just, whenever something major is happening, major news are happening, just put in their money. So you invest and then they can steal your money. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's still there to fund all these organizations, in Ukraine and fund Hamas and all this, maybe. I don't know. Think about it. It's pure speculation though. Okay, so Mohammed is asking, there's a famous book from Ray Dalio talking about rise and fall of nations. Yes. It's very similar to what Ray Dalio is saying, but I still think my books are better. Sorry. I still think this book here, Awakening, I don't like to just write for the sake of writing. So I have a fake book that you can read. I get to the point. I tell you, here, this is what it is. And that's it. And then you can read about it and you can think about it whatever you want. But I don't like to talk about this too much. I just want to get straight to the point. And I think I do this pretty well in my second book at least. Right. But it's a good book though. Ray Dalio was talking about this a lot. There's also a video from him talking about the short-term and long-term debt cycle, which I highly recommend you check out. Okay, so that's it with the questions for now. So if you actually watch the whole thing, if you have some questions, please ask now. I'm going to be here for another few minutes to just answer your questions before I end the show. Oh, also, let me know if you like this format. Before I always went live and just, went for a walk or something to talk to you guys, just answer questions. But I actually want to post this on YouTube so you can rewatch it. Of course, you will be able to watch it a day or two earlier when you are on my newsletter, and then a day or two later I will post it on YouTube, make it visible to everyone else. So that's another perk you have if you join my newsletter. But let me know if you like this format, especially you, 7 Foot Daddy, if you actually like me to go over articles and talk about things and then answer questions on top of that. Okay, so we got another question in. What is your opinion on interest rates in the future? So I just talked about it. The Fed really can't do much. I still think they're going to cut interest rates, but if they're just going to stay where they are, and the government monetizes the debt, and then it doesn't matter what the interest rate is, right? If you just monetize the debt and fund the government with printed money directly, the interest rate doesn't matter. You're still going to have hyperinflation. You can have 7, 10, 15, 20% interest rates. It doesn't matter, because you're funding your spending with straight up printed money, right? Which they're already doing through extra steps, right? Via the banks and the bond markets, but that's just going to accelerate everything. So I think they should just let inflation rip, and they're probably going to leave rates where they are and not do anything. Increase rates maybe 0.25% again in November, and then that's it. And probably cut in spring, or not cut at all. You have to understand, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, the interest rate didn't do anything anyways. They never fought inflation. They never started to fight inflation. So it's just to keep you from rioting and keep you from panicking. So that's Jerome Powell's job. It's not to actually bring down inflation, but to keep you from panicking. That's his job. Opinion on utilities versus oil. So oil, the utilities are mostly energy anyways, right? So it's like with real estate. It's like you asking me right now, what do you think of real estate in a city, like condos, or real estate in like more like in the outskirts, farmland? So it's both real estate, right? So the same with utilities and oil. It's both energy, most of it, both energy. But when you invest into utilities, that's like a broad term. So what do you invest in? Like hydro, nuclear, just the infrastructure, and then oil, you just invest into a commodity that is that is utilized, basically. So I would like I'm not investing into stocks anyways, so I invest into the commodity, and there's no utility commodity that would be oil. So I would just go with oil. But I know what I'm doing, and I know why I'm doing it. I'm not just doing it because someone on the internet told me, right? Never take investment advice from strangers from the internet, especially not from lions. So just to let you know, that's why I'm writing a newsletter, so to keep you up to date, and write books so you can learn about it before you do something that you might regret later. All right. Let's see. All right. All right. All right. Things getting more interesting. Yeah, for sure. 7-foot daddy. For sure. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. You can rewatch this on YouTube. Wars, shortages, riots. Yeah, unfortunately, man. Unfortunately. But thanks for watching the whole show. Let me know in the comments of my video or private message if you like this format, where I go actually over articles and talk about things happening right now. I can do this every week. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do the Wednesday show, okay? But I'm going to do the Saturday show every Saturday at 7 p.m. Central European time, and I want to do this article thing again. So I'm gonna go over the articles that came out on the weekend, and I'm gonna talk about it, and you can ask questions here. And yeah, I hope it was good. Yeah, thank you, thank you, son, for daddy. There's one more question here. User, like some number, is asking, how is the effect of the two wars going on simultaneously affect the overall behavior for their thoracotum? I'm not sure what you're asking me, man. So I just talked about it at the beginning of the show. You missed it, unfortunately. Sorry, but you can rewatch it. It was a good half an hour. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. You can rewatch it on YouTube. So I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it tomorrow for the newsletter people, everyone on Discord, on the premium Discord, of course. And then 2 days later, I'm going to post it for everyone else on YouTube, and you can rewatch it, or ask me again, and we'll talk about it again. Maybe next show on Saturday. Next Saturday, okay? Insightful. Thank you so much. Weekly update. Yeah, exactly. Like a weekly update, a little bit more professional. No shaky cameras or anything. And let's see. Let's make this grow together. I want to grow. I want to reach more people. I think I have interesting things to say. I think you have interesting questions, and I really want to grow this, and I hope I can do this full time one day. Sweet portrait on the back. Yeah. Oh shit! Before I leave, actually, let me show you my stuff. Self-portrait. Yeah. Maybe. Look. Look at it. And this here, like the cigar and the tie, those are made out of wrappers from actual cigars. They're real wrappers. Look. Yeah, they're real. Yeah, man, I have to paint again. I don't know what to do. I have so much work, videos, live show. I paint. I have to write my third book. I'm writing it right now. So much to do. And also, I wanted to show you some cool stuff. So that's the lighter from the video. And it has an interesting, not a trick, but I saw something. I want to show you. It does that. Maybe not now. I'm going to close the light so you can see it a bit better. So, did that burn a little bit? Okay. And when you tilt it, you see the flame? It goes to the top. But that was pretty cool. I thought, I don't know where it does it, but when you tilt it, you see the flame like dancing, just like a little blue ball on the top. That's pretty cool. This was a gift. It's a gold plated. And then I got a also a gift, a cigar cutter from Lotus. Let me turn back on the light. Right here. This is really, really cool. So I'm not getting paid by Zippo or them, right? They're not my sponsors, so I'm doing this for free. Zippo, Lotus, if you see me, maybe I can make cigar reviews. But this is a cigar cutter, and look at this interesting cutter. So when I press on the top, it opens up, and then you can, there's a bottom in here. So when you put the cigar in to cut it, it closes at the same time, and then you don't have to, it gets a bit messy, right? You look around to throw away that cigar butt or the tobacco, but it will be just in here, and you can carry it around until you find a place to discard it, and you can. So this is a very interesting piece, and it's also gold plated, just like this Zippo lighter here. And I know you shouldn't you shouldn't light up your cigar with a Zippo lighter because it would change the taste, but I do it anyways because I really like this lighter, and it was a gift. It means a lot to me, and this was also a gift, and I'm probably going to have one like right now after the show. So yeah, 007 style. Yeah, I have so many more paint